I'm back. It is still December 23rd, and this is a rapid reaction as Dylan Stewart officially announced his return, and Shane Beamer is poised to make another big time hire. We'll discuss more on the other side of another rapid reaction podcast on Gamecock Pod Daily.
It's time for Gamecock Pod Daily with Keith Alsep.
For the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be committed to the University of South Carolina.
This is Rodgers again to the 25, 20, 15, 10. Rodgers scores! Jackie Bradley Jr. delivered for the Gamecocks. Walks it up, looking for Kelly. Touchdown! Can you believe it?
And South Carolina is sending shockwaves through the SEC.
Frederick plays it in at the buzzer. That's a win. Unbelievable. I don't believe it. I do not believe it.
And now, live from Studio 54 of the Gamecock Pod Studios, here's the Cockfather himself, Keith Alsep.
All right, everybody, welcome into another rapid reaction edition of Gamecock Pod Daily. As just moments ago, Dylan Stewart took to social media to announce that he is officially coming back for the 2026 season to the University of South Carolina. Also, Pete Thamel, moments ago on X, says South Carolina is expected to hire Penn State defensive line coach Dion Barnes as the defensive end and outside linebackers coach. He's been Penn State's defensive line coach the past 3 years and worked with the line at Penn State since 2020. He coached Abdul Carter, Chop Robinson, and Adisa Isaac. Since 2020, when Barnes started at Penn State, the school leads the nation with 7 defensive ends drafted, and Dennis Sutton will add to that group this year. Barnes is a former player at Penn State, and he played with the New York Jets and the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL. So in 2020, Yatir Gross-Matos was the 38th overall pick out of Penn State. In 2021, Micah Parsons was the 12th overall selection. Also in 2021, Adafi Awi was the 31st overall selection. In 2022, Arnold Ibakiti was the 38th overall pick. In 2024, Chop Robinson was the 21st overall selection. And then this past year, Abdul Carter, the 3rd overall pick in the National Football League. A big-time hire by Shane Beamer to replace Sterling Lucas. And one thing I like about Barnes, other than he's a Penn State guy, he played at Penn State from 2011 to 2014. He was the GA there in 20 through 22, and then the last 3 years he has coached the defensive line. He was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year as a player there in 2012. He's not a fat guy like Sterling Lucas. Now, Spurrier used to say, yeah, well, we just got too many fat guys. Todd, I look over there in Missouri, they just don't have any fat guys. And Barnes, highly regarded both as a coach and as a recruiter, someone very familiar with the DMV area in his time at Penn State, and quite possibly, according to some Penn State fans on social media, they can't believe South Carolina is stealing away the best defensive line coach in the country, according to them. Of course, he will replace Sterling Lucas, who is going to LSU, but he's the only one because Dylan Stewart's not going to LSU. Jersey Robinson's not going to LSU. And here's why the message board mafia, they are just out of control. All you heard all fall long was, oh my God, Dawn Staley, she is not recruiting anybody. Our recruiting is nothing like it has been the last several years. Well, now with the commitment of Jersey Robinson, South Carolina easily has a top 5 class. You got the top guard, the top wing, the top 2 players out of California, which had never happened before. And in Kelsey Andrews, you got one of the top 2 post players in the class of 2026. 6'7" forward Alicia Turnabes from France. She announced yesterday, or Dawn Staley announced, the university had signed her officially and that she will begin with the team after Christmas. Not too bad. Over the weekend, the message board mafia, oh my God, Dylan Stewart, he's going to LSU with Sterling Lucas. That's the only reason Lane Kiffin hired Sterling Lucas was to get Dylan Stewart. You got to think it's a 2-for-1. Well, how'd that work out for the message board mafia? The message board maniacs, they are, I say. Just massive overreaction, weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth, angst and consternation, metaphorically jumping off buildings and committing suicide. Metaphorically speaking, not in reality. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Over nothing. I mean, look, time will tell on Dion Barnes, but certainly he has the resume. Okay, when you look at Barnes as a player, a 3-year letterman at defensive end, freshman of the year, Coach Abdul Carter, who was actually the New York Giants pick and the 2nd overall pick in the draft. Keziah Izzard, who plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. Devon J. Thomas, who plays with the Buccaneers. Chop Robinson, the 21st overall pick of in the 2024 draft by the Miami Dolphins. Adisa Isaac, a 3rd-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens. PJ Mustipher, who plays for the Arizona Cardinals. Arnold Ebiketie, the second-round draft pick of the Atlanta Falcons in 2022, Jesse Luketa, who plays for the Arizona Cardinals, Derek Tangelo, who's played in the NFL, Odafe Awi, who was the first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens, and Shaka Toney, who played in the NFL for 2 years. He is a native of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, same hometown as Dawn Staley. Graduated from Penn State in 2014. And, 2022 Outback Bowl, 2023 Rose Bowl, Chick-fil-A Bowl. Last year, Penn State was a national semifinalist. He coached the National Defensive Player of the Year in Abdul Carter. He has helped coach 20 all Big Ten honorees, including 5 first-team selections, a first-team, second-team, and third-team All-American. Since 2020, when Barnes joined the program, Penn State has led the nation for most defensive ends drafted with 7. And in 2024, Penn State's defense was dominant, ranking 2nd in the FBS in tackles for loss and 5th in sacks with 44. Abdul Carter made the switch from linebacker to defensive end and became Penn State's highest NFL draft pick since Saquon Barkley in 2018, joining Bruce Clark and Courtney Brown as the only top 5 NFL draft picks at defensive line in school history. So a lot of big news for Gamecock women's basketball, a lot of big news for Gamecock football. Yesterday, Lenora Sellers officially announced on social media he was running it back. He had unfinished business. Today, it's Dylan Stewart announcing that. And Pete Thamel probably got to have a board of trustees meeting announcing that Shane Beamer is expected to hire Dion Barnes, who was my top pick for this position. I was never on the bring back Mike Peterson. Dude did not like to recruit. You're getting a young, up-and-coming coach that is a great coach that worked with another great defensive line coach at Penn State before taking over, a guy that has coached big-time players, that has recruited big-time players, and a guy that brings a great reputation with him to South Carolina, which I think will certainly help Dylan Stewart become more productive, along with Jaylen Brown. And not only that, but he could bring with him the top freshman defensive end in college football in Chaz Coleman, who has announced he will enter the transfer portal. And this is a guy in Chaz Coleman that rates being the top rated defensive end in the country. And, if South Carolina could add Chaz Coleman to go along with Dylan Stewart with Jaylen Brown. Maybe he helps add Carter Meadows to the fold. And let's not forget about Julian Walker coming in. This guy is going to have a lot of talent. Quay Dodd, the Ant-Man, he returns. Anthony Addison, Desmond Umeozulu. I mean, a lot of big-time players, and I think a lot of players, based off his impressive track record, are going to want to come to South Carolina and play for him. And so I can't wait to see what Dylan Stewart looks like, what that edge room looks like. And tip of the hat to Shane Beamer. He is had a hell of a postseason. The season, it was a stinker because of the keeping Lonnie Teasley, hiring Mike Shula, which was lazy as bleep. Okay. Well, I'm just going to say it. Well, no, I'm not going to say it because it's probably going up on YouTube. But I guess you can say profanity. So I'm just going to say it was just a lazy ass hire. And it was lazy AF. Okay. When he could have hired virtually anybody in America after going 9-3 and the way Lenora Sellers played coming down the stretch of that season. But Sellers is coming back. You get Kendall Briles. You bring Randy Clements, the longtime architect of the offensive line in the Briles system, to South Carolina. Now you're going to have two former Penn State assistants, Stan Drayton, veteran running back coach, big-time recruiter, big-time coach, and Dion Barnes, big-time coach, big-time recruiter, both from Penn State to South Carolina. And this is a godsend. Gamecock fans were panicking, metaphorically, leaping off buildings, metaphorically slitting their wrist, thinking Dylan Stewart's gone. How are we going to replace Sterling Lucas? Well, this is how. You get a guy that played at Penn State, played the National Football League, coached a bunch of great players, and developed them into NFL dudes. You bring him in to replace Sterling Lucas. And so this is not official yet, but expected. Again, the formality, you probably have got to have a board of trustees meeting because this guy's going to command a big-time salary, probably minimum of $700,000 per year. And Chaz Coleman just tweeted, breaking, South Carolina is hiring Penn State defensive line coach Dion Barnes. Big loss, as Barnes is considered a rising star in the industry. This from that tweet retweeted by Dylan Dawson, who is a Penn State reporter. So that should catch your attention. Also, Shane Beamer retweeting that Jaden Gibson, a 6'5" wide receiver who was a big-time player before injury, he has entered the transfer portal. And I believe it was Hayes Fawcett that said South Carolina and Penn State, or South Carolina and Wisconsin, are two early contenders for Jaden Gibson, who Shane Beamer probably knew from his time at Oklahoma, because this kid has been there since 2020. Gibson is a native of Apopka, Florida. So I have to take that back. He enrolled at Oklahoma in January of 2022. This is a player, though, South Carolina recruited. He was a consensus four-star prospect, the number 57 player in the country by Rivals, rated the number 10 wide receiver in the country, and the number 10 player in the state of Florida, had over 1,600 yards and 22 touchdowns over his junior and senior seasons. Chose Oklahoma over Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, and South Carolina. He was originally committed to Florida. In 2022, he appeared in 9 games, primarily on special teams. In 2023 at Oklahoma, he played in all 13 games, made his lone start in the Alamo Bowl, where he, that season, he had 14 receptions, 375 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That's 25.8 yards per reception. In 2024, he was injured. I believe he had a knee injury. Or no, sorry, looks like he ran into some legal issues. I think that was after the injury. And in 2024, did not play. He could have, because of the injury, he could still have 2 years of eligibility. And 6'5", rangy receiver. I mean, a former top player, top 50, 60 player in the country, 6'5", 200 pounds. I say bring him on. So in 2024, he did not play due to injury. So that's his redshirt year, and he could probably get a medical hardship for this year. So he could still have 2 years of eligibility. And if you add him and then you add Chaz Coleman, that'd be quite a start to your portal season. Maybe you can add Carter Meadows as well. All right, this hopefully this is my last podcast before Christmas. So I'm again going to say God bless, go Gamecocks, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all, and big things happening for Gamecock women's basketball and Gamecock football today. Not 1, but 2 rapid reaction editions of Gamecock Pod Daily. This is Keith Alsep. Again, God bless. Go Gamecocks. I'm out of here.